Hi, I'm Richard Bliss, and welcome to Sails of Glory, Fire and Combat. We're going to take a few minutes in this video to demonstrate how to shoot and fire in ship-to-ship combat using the Sails of Glory combat system. Let's go up on deck and take a look. Basic combat and firing starts with the ship and its base. We're going to go ahead and take a look from the top down of how to use the arcs of fire that are on either side of the ship so that you can do ship-to-ship combat. Let's go ahead and take a look. Here is a ship card, or the base, actually looking down from the top. And as you can see, we've already talked about the movement that goes around the outside of it. Now what we want to talk about are these firing arcs that take advantage of how do you shoot a broadside. You'll notice that we've got three marks, three dots right here. So you see this first one, the cone kind of comes out to here. The second one, the cone's a little bit elongated. And this third one, you can see that the cone actually goes all the way down to the bottom. What this allows you to do is basically when you're setting up a shot, you have to pick a target. And if it's within this cone, as it extends out, then you can shoot at it, whether you're shooting it from a full broadside, a stern, or from the front. You're able to actually pick, and that changes the amount of damage that you're able to do. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right, here's the setup. We've got two ships out here. The Bordeaux is going to take a shot at the Cleopatra. The first thing you do is identify which cone or which area of fire, arc of fire, is going to be effective here. And as you can see, as I lay down the lines, we've got the Bordeaux taking a shot with a full broadside at the Cleopatra. Now, if I was to move the ships, now what you see is the Bordeaux still can take a shot at the Cleopatra, but it's the stern section of the broadside rather than the full broadside because it's not in that middle portion anymore. Okay, let's go ahead and take a shot. The Bordeaux has lined up for a full broadside against the Cleopatra. We lay down the range ruler and determine the range. In this case, the ship's at long range. If you're bringing it a little closer, now we're at short range. Long range is yellow, short range is orange, and then these other two, chain and grape shot, we don't use in the basic game. Whatever range that crosses the base of the target ship tells you which type of chit to use. A chits are used for long range, they're less effective. B chits are used for short range, which are more effective. And so that tells you what type of chit you're going to pull. The firing ship determines how many damage markers you pull, and that's the next thing that we'll have to determine. So now, that's all there is to it. Lay down the range marker within the arc of fire, determine which range, that tells you what type of damage chit to pull. Let's see now on the player mat how you score damage against a ship once it's been fired upon. Now we're going to take a look at the player mat. And as you can see, it's a little bit more complex than what we've looked at so far, but really it's quite straightforward and simple. Here we're looking at the Cleopatra. And if I change it, we can take a look here at the Commerce de Bordeaux. A couple of things to notice. First of all, this tells us what the burden of the ship is. That's how much damage it can take per box. And I'll explain that. In this case, it's 5. Then these boxes represent increasing amounts of damage and the impact it has on the ability to fire and do other types of things. So let me explain. In these boxes, for example, you see the numbers 4, 7, 4. That tells you then how many chits you draw based on the arc of fire. So if it's a full broadside, you're going to draw 7 chits depending on the range. Remember, the range was either A for long range, B for short range. So if I'm shooting short range, I'm going to draw 7 chits for a full broadside out of the B pile. Okay? But as you see, as we take damage, as this box gets covered up, it's still 4, 7, 4. But then as this box gets covered up, now we're down to 4, 6, 4, because now we have less ability to fire. And then we get down to 3, 5, 3, and then on down it goes. I'm going to show you how to cover up and how to take damage, but that's how you track damage. As the damage comes in, you cover up each box as it fills up, in this case, up to 5 points of damage per box, and then it slowly brings damage to the ship. What you're seeing down here then also is the musket fire, the crew firing. When you fire with musket fire, which I'll explain also, 4, 3, 3, again, as you take crew damage, and we'll do a demonstration, that's the amount of chits that you're going to draw from the musketry bag. Okay? So that's about it. Oh, one other thing. Down here you see where you're going to actually load your ammunition. In the basic game, we're only using round shot, and so you'll have your left and your right broadsides loaded. and you just cover those up with your ammunition card. When you fire, you lift it off there, and then it takes a turn to reload. You'll put it back, and then the following turn you'll be able to fire again. If you want, you can fire both broadsides if you have targets on either side. Both of those come off. At the end of the turn, the next turn, you put them both back on, and then the following turn you're able to fire again. So it's pretty straightforward. One other thing, the card does tell you which maneuver deck. We'd already talked about maneuvering, so in this case the Bordeaux uses a B maneuver deck to maneuver its ship. Let's go ahead and show you an example of actual combat when it comes to using these cards. Okay? Let's run through a quick example of how we conduct fire so that it kind of makes sense. Cleopatra taking a shot at the Bordeaux. Right? We'll run through and show how this looks to actually do the combat. In this case, when we measure it out, you can see that this range ruler shows that we're within short range. So we draw from the B chits, and then we reach into the bag and pull out a certain number based on the combat effectiveness of the Cleopatra, and then we'll determine how much damage we do to the Bordeaux. Let's take a look. Here's the Cleopatra player card, full broadside, that first box, 4 chits. So 4 chits at B because we're at close range. So we reach into the B bag, we pull out those 4, we get a 3, a 2 with crew, a 2 and a 1. So we lay those out and arrange them now to fill up the boxes. And because we can have up to 5 in each box, we start with the first box. So we're going to go ahead and lay down the 3. We lay down the 2. Normally we would flip that over because that one's full. We now lay down the other 2. Now the crew damage doesn't matter which one it goes into, and I'll show you where that crew damage goes. And then we lay down the 1. There we go. Now we reach and go get a crew damage, and we're going to put that into where the musketry is. What we'll do is drop in that crew representing damage to the ability to shoot musketry. There was one last piece of combat that I really didn't mention that we do need to mention, and that is, as you can see here, that short range of the ruler is used for musket fire. And musket fire draws from a totally different set of chits in combat effectiveness. And this is for when the ships get close enough that the Marines are firing at each other. And what you'll do is you'll pull from the E pile of chits to do damage. There you go. Basic rules for firing in combat for Sails of Glory. Straightforward, right out of the box, and you can start playing the game immediately. It's been a lot of fun to make this video. I think you'll enjoy it. We'll have more advanced videos coming, but for right now, this is enough to get you going, sailing, and blowing the opponents out of the water. Thanks for watching, and enjoy Sails of Glory.